Welcome back, everybody. Have a good lunch. Hope you guys didn't eat too much to get that afternoon food coma, right? Good information so far? Good, good. I mean, we're getting another tool for our tool belts, right? To be successful in building business. And again, if you guys weren't here this morning, this is a system and a service that I've taken advantage of. All the stuff that we're about to go over right now is a very, very simple website that they put together that you, along with them holding your hand, can build up your business credit on your own. So if you're feeling a bit like, how do I do this? What are the specific steps? They're going to walk you through the exact specific steps on their website. Very simple. Not always easy, but it's simple. All right? And they're going to help teach you how to do that, and then you go off and get your own funding. So let's welcome Ray Smith. Ray Fleming, right back up.
Ray Smith. Awesome. Love working with Mike. That's the way to do it. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to run through. It's like everything. You can do taxes yourself, or if you need assistance, then you can go to services like TurboTax, or go straight to an accountant and have them do it all for you. We're the exact same way. So if you need professional help, you can go do this on your own. That's what we did. We went out and we tried to make it happen on our own. We had taken a class on it, ran with it. Took us a long time to figure it out. That's kind of why we're up here. So if you need help with it though, we can streamline that, get it done for you quickly and effectively. I'm just going to run through and show you a little bit about our system and walk a little bit back through exactly what we did today so you can see how this takes place and everything that we talked about, looking in a linear fashion as in having it make sense. There's the two things that we do. We have a very simple system that if you get started with us, working with us, you can either be in the business credit building aspect or the funding. We talked about things that we can do funding on, merchant accounts, cash advances. There's the three major things that SBA looks at. Technically 5, but we're going to talk about the big 3. Credit, cash flow, and collateral. That's what's needed to get funding. What's really great about what we do is we can fund you on just one of those 3, or a combination of any of those. You have some business credit, but nothing else, let's get you something. You have cash flow and nothing else, let's get you something. Just collateral, let's talk about that. Now, what we've been going over today is building business credit. This company is 88% completed. We needed something that allowed anybody to be able to handle it. So we have an office lady, and her job is strictly to manage the companies that we own, because we practice what we preach. We do exactly what we do. We use our own systems every single day. And this lines up, so what we're looking at is steps 1 through 10. There, I'll go back real quick so we can, yes?
Are you going to have access to the PowerPoint presentation that you do? I just want to know how fast I got it right.
Oh, so the great thing is, I'll direct, after this we can direct you to our YouTube channel where we have all sorts of trainings and everything like that. Also our website where we have trainings and in-depth on a lot of these things. And then, we'll get to that for sure. But yeah, we'll definitely make sure you leave with some resources. All right, so there's 10 steps, or 7 steps we're actually going to go through. The first step is business credibility. The second step is establishing your business credit reports. The third step is the first round of building your business credits. We call that Tier 1. After we're doing that, then we got to monitor the reports because we need to see if things are showing up. Next, we're going to go into round 2, round 3, and round 4 building. And so I'll go into depth on those and show you what those actually look like. So a lot of what we talked about this morning was just step 1. That's pretty much what we mainly covered. And as we look at this, okay, business name, business address, business entity, your EIN number. And as you, let's start with business name. Let's look at that and see what that actually looks like. So if this is the very first step, there's training videos. So literally what we covered this morning into training videos. Anybody that you know that speaks Spanish, the whole site converts to Spanish, transcribes into Spanish. Now let's say you want to start a business and you have a business name. Well, you got to figure out if anybody else is using that name first. And let's say, okay, you're in Nevada, so you could go straight to the Nevada link, okay? you're like, all right, well, I got to figure out if somebody else is using my link, and we're off of the internet right now. All right, hold on, give me a second here. You're gonna have to get cut back on the internet. Give me 2 seconds here. All right, let's bring it back up.
You have a mouse.
Oh, hey, that would help. Look at that. Look at these contraptions that we got going on. All right. So what else we have on here is like my corporation. That's an online source. So we have some sources. We have no partnership, like we've used them with success. I recommend a law firm called KKOS. They do a lot up here in Nevada. I've just used them with success. So I would consult with some of the other members in the group, see who they recommend for when you're structuring some legal things. You want to use a good, reputable attorney, but of course it comes down to your situation, what is right for you. I've done it both ways where I set it myself, and I've done it where I've used professionals. I've also been in situations where, because I use the right professionals, it has prevented some pretty significant losses because it was done right. So we talked a lot extensively about business name this morning. What I'm going to do is kind of show you, okay, so business address, there's some resources on there as well. We talked earlier, virtual offices. And so as you are setting up a virtual office, one of the things that I wanted to let you know earlier was private mailbox numbers. That's important because you can get thrown into the same bag with everybody else, and not all of them offer that. And so as you're going through, you're going to get your address, you're going to put it in the system, and then our team can verify where you are in the process. And it's one of those things that we work with you, especially in the beginning, every single day. We are calling you and make sure that you're on track, because we know how things are. You get started, and then, by the end of the week, the excitement burns out. That's why we're like on top of you. The first 2 weeks, we literally call you every single day. We're like, hey, let's keep going, let's keep moving, let's move through this, let's make sure we're hitting our goals. There's some resources here. There's Regus, Alliance, DaVinci. These are national virtual office companies. So we have resources for you. It takes you right to their website. Shop around, find out what works for you. And we talked about, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, go to step 1.5, that's business phone number and the 411 directory. We talked about how it can cost money to be listed into the 411. Also, another training on why the 411 is good. Once you have your business number, you can put in there. If you got a toll-free, you got your fax number, and then simply right here, as you enter your information, we can submit it to the National 411 because we have a corporate account, so we just put you through. Boom, and then you go down, enter in your information, save it, and then you're pretty much completed with that step. You need a phone number. Well, we got some resources, Ring Central, Freedom Voice, Vonage. These are just online retailers. We kind of recommend a couple of them because we don't work with one in particular. I've used Freedom Voice a lot with success, but I know people who use Vonage, Ring Central. It just depends. Shop around, see which one you feel will work good for you. And as you get your business phone number, as we look up here on the right-hand side, after our business phone number, we move into our website and email. We want to get that taken care of. The business licensing, there we have a chapter on that. The business bank account, merchant accounts, and then there's the wrap-up process. So as everything we spent time on, and that's why I'm kind of going through it a little quickly, just hitting some of the highlighted points of this morning. Just going back through and wrapping it up, making sure that we have verified, literally gone through each document, each organization, whether it's IRS or it's a city, the state, and gone through and verified these documents. Very, very important. Once all of that has been completed, then you're completed with step 1. Step 1 takes the longest, typically, because if you have not set up your business yet, that's beautiful. Then we can correct it all from the beginning. Does that mean everything's going to be done right, though? Just because you put it right on paper doesn't mean it shows up right. There's people on the other side entering this information. You send a form into the IRS, there's somebody manually entering that information. The Secretary of State manually enter, and it happens all the time. you reviewed a document and skipped over street versus road. That would require correction. So if you have a mistake and then, let's say you already have your business set up and we got to go back and change some of these things, it could take 30 days for the state to correct it. These things take time. But it has to be done before we can move forward. Now, what was the next step after that? After we get everything lined up, who did we have to go talk to? You guys remember? So after we got all of the credibility aspects, so when I say credibility, I'm talking about our phone number, our address. We got all that stuff with our business set up, right? What business did we have to go to get the next steps set up?
Report.
Yes. The credit, we had to establish our business reports. So that's step 2 in the process. And the first one is Dun & Bradstreet. So there's a training video in here that talks about what to say and what not to say, also to how to really tell them no, because they're really persistent. Once you get your DUNS number, you're going to enter that in here, and you're going to save it. DUNS numbers are free. They're going to try to get a lot of information out of you. They're going to say, you know, we need your employees, we need your revenue, we need all these things. If you're in a startup situation and you're not having revenue, there's a lot of things you don't want to say, because that could trip you up later. They're in a situation of collecting data, and they use that data to sell it to lenders. Lenders want that data, and the more complete profiles, the better they're able to assess your risk. So they want lenders want Dun & Bradstreet to get as much information as possible so they can feel better about making a decision. Now, if Dun & Bradstreet has a report on you and it shows that you aren't making any money, you have no employees, you're not established, are the lenders going to want to lend you money? No. And see, that's the thing is, anywhere through this process, any of these things could be tripping you up, and you just don't know which is which. So it's better to make sure everything lines up right. And so we go through that, and you can get on a call with our advisors and walk through, like, hey, what should I say, what should I not say to Dun & Bradstreet, and we will do that with you. Then it moves on to business experience, business Equifax. But what happens if there's things showing up that you didn't know were on your credit report, or that are not your accounts? So if things are showing up on there that are not part of your business, we have that too. How do we actually fix that? How do we fix these discrepancies that are on your business credit? Same thing, you know, because that happens on your personal. It's data. So personal credit, business credit, it's a big compile of data. When somebody pulls your report, all it is just, they just pull away everything that's not yours, or what they don't think is yours, and what's left over, that's your report. So a lot of times, say you have a common name, like Joseph Smith. There's other Joseph Smiths in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And similar birth dates, similar social security numbers, accounts can fall onto his profile. And so the same thing can happen with your business. Similar names, similar states, they can fall. Similar addresses. That's why if we're using virtual offices and we have multiple businesses, 200 businesses at one office, things can fall onto other people's reports. So then after we set up our reports, then we're going to go into building credit the first round. This is what I was talking about is the hardest step, because who actually reports? And so the problem is when you're going through this process of building these accounts, you struggle a lot with knowing who actually is. Yes, can I help you?
I'm sorry, you're doing a great job. There's nothing wrong. Just a technical issue on how it's.
Well, I wasn't even going to do that. I know. Yep.
Well, it didn't happen.
Sorry, that was my fault. He knows everything he's doing. I apologize.
What my friend is saying, what we have done is spent a substantial amount of time, energy, and money into those accounts. That is what he is saying. he knows that what we have compiled, we spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on tracking these accounts. And so what we're doing is, as we go in here, there's not a whole lot of accounts that actually report, and these are extremely valuable. And so what he was saying is, usually we won't show you anything, but he does want me to dive in and show you some. And so I'm going to show you some. Now, I'm not going to show you the whole list, because we'll talk about exactly, that's exactly what we do, and that's how we can definitely help you. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to give you guys at least a full report on one. Now, who's heard of a company called Uline? Okay, so what we do is we track all these accounts, and then this is what we do. So we give you the phone number, their website, uline.com, and we tell you who it reports to, Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. $50 minimum payment to report, and that is on an invoice. So what I mean by that is, if you make a purchase for 2 items totaling over $50, and they split up your invoice, did you have one invoice with over 50? Or did you have 2 invoices under 50? 2 under 50. And they like to do this because they know there are some other companies that are really notorious for doing this. You could purchase $200 and they'll break it all up. So they don't have to report because it costs them money to report. Now, there's also some companies that will want you to purchase for 3 months, or let your account season for 3 months. Uline is a great company because, what is it? Uline is a leading distributor, shipping, industrial packaging, office supplies, janitorial products, cleaning things you can use for your business. What do you need to qualify? You need an EIN number from the IRS. You need a Dun & Bradstreet number. Sometimes you might need a brain preference if you're looking for a larger account. If you're just getting a beginner account, it doesn't need it. Trade references. So are you having a history of credit reporting? Many times not needed. If you're just looking for a little $100 line, no problem. But if you're looking for a $20,000 line, you're going to need some bigger things. No personal guarantee necessary, but you may be asked to prepay for a couple of purchases before giving a net 30 account. Depends on where you're located. If you have a business in Nevada and you're trying to ship to Maryland, they're going to want you to purchase a couple times before they approve you. Things like this trip you up. I had a lady and she's like, they told me I needed to prepay 10 times before. And I said, well, whoa, we've gone through this whole thing. I'm looking at everything. Everything looks like it's correct. I'm missing something. I'm like, okay. And you're not shipping anywhere else. Well, what do you mean not shipping anywhere else? I said, well, okay, so you live in Maryland. She's like, no, I live in Reno. I was like, okay, so when did you move to Reno? I've lived here my whole life. Okay, so why is your business in Maryland? Well, because I was watching a YouTube video and they said that the rates there are the best and I should set up my C Corp in Maryland. First off, why did you even set up a C Corp? One, I mean, it was just one of these things that, for what she was doing, it didn't make any sense. She's like, they won't ship it. And I'm like, well, your business and your office, your virtual office is in Maryland, and you're trying to ship to a home in Reno. Why wouldn't you? That sounds shady. And you're trying to do this without letting them know who you are? Yes, there's a reason they don't want to do that. So as long as you know that's what it's like. If your office is in the same city where you're at, usually there's no problems. So if they needed more information and client doesn't want to prepay, then they can fill out a credit application online. They just submit it online. And this is the great thing. How do you do that? How do you submit it online? Well, this is how you apply online. You add the items to the cart. You check out. You open an account and you have to select to be invoiced. That's how you do it. Lots of times they might have an account manager that will call you. Or you'll have to call in and talk to the credit department. And usually they just want to talk to somebody physically, or they want to talk to another human over the phone, their credit department. They want to actually talk to somebody and make sure that, hey, okay, where's your business located? Can you verify some information? Oh, okay, sounds pretty good. What business are you in? All right, we'll approve you. That's the process, and that's how it works. And so as you're going through this, and as you filled out all the information in our system, the system will let you know if you're pre-qualified or not. If you're pre-qualified, you should get that account, and there should not be any issues. If for any reason you're pre-qualified but you're not getting an account, then you need to get us on the phone and we can figure that out. If they sent you documentation and they said, oh, you can't get it because of this, but you're supposed to, then that's like, if it's after business hours, then you can fill this out. Already populates your name, your email address, what's the issue, if you need to attach any type of document, send it through. That's available 24/7. And then you can process it and work on it and get back to you. Also, our advisors, they're available during business hours. You can always call them if you need to escalate it. And when I say escalate it, because we have several different levels of advisors. There's, the girls that can, we got the office girls that they can help you navigate anything in the system. If there's an email, there's a password, there's any of these issues that need to be fixed. Okay, there's a financial issue. You need a licensed financial advisor on the phone. That we most of the time have somebody that can answer that, or we have to schedule it for a couple hours or something like that, or schedule it if we need to do some research on what the issue is and then get back, then we'll do that. But that's part of the system, is you have access to that for 12 months or until we get you $50,000. That's where we have to get you. And then let's say there's a bunch of things that caught up and you've been working this and making it happen, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, what happens at 12 months? And I'm almost there. Well, we're going to keep working with you until you get there. And then our our loan officers work with you for an additional 5 years. Because the first goal is to build the credit. And then after you have it established, to go get larger loans, larger lines of credit. So that is, okay, so I'm gonna show you a little bit more about other accounts. Oops, hold on. Oopsies. There we go. There you go, Joey, don't worry. Joey's gonna get mad at me.
I'm already mad at you.
All right, let's talk about monitoring the reports. There we go. Okay, so monitoring the reports. Because after you make your first purchase, so those beginning accounts, that's the hardest part, those beginner accounts. Okay, so you got these beginner accounts, you made these purchases. Now you have to go back and track your reports. You have to see, and it can take anywhere from 30 to 90 days for these to show up on your report. So you have to go down here and we set up the monitoring, how this monitoring works. Now we do have credit monitoring through our system because we have a corporate account. You can go out and get monitoring from any of these companies. Dun & Bradstreet usually, last time I checked, was like $150. They have sales and things like that for pulling reports. Business Experience and Equifax range anywhere from $50 to $100. It just depends. Our corporate account, we can add a user for $24 a month. And this is one of the things you don't have to use until you get to this point. So there is an extra expense that is not included. Also, when you order, say, something from Uline, you order, let's just say you ordered a box of paper towels. That's something you're going to have to pay for. That does not include in the system. The accounts are going to have to be paid for. When you spend gas money, you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to spend money on your legal setup. This does not set up your legal entity for you. So there are additional expenses, but our goal is to show you exactly what you need to spend money on so you don't overspend on things that don't necessarily matter. So you can get $50,000 in business lines of credit. That's the beautiful part. So it's investing a little bit into the credibility so you can get a huge return. Now, so after if we look up here on the side, we did our business credibility, we established our business reports, we started building, now we're monitoring, waiting for that. So now it's a waiting game. And we could be waiting, 2-3 months. And that's no fun if you didn't meet the threshold for them to report and you're at 120 days wondering why this account didn't show up. That's a problem. We now just wasted 4 months. All right, so let's move on to building credit in the second phase. All right, so I'm going to kind of show you the same little situation here. Let's see here. Joey, what did you, let's see. Why don't we
Sir?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Uh-oh. Hey, why don't we do that? Hold on. How do I... Here, Joey, I'm going to shrink it down so I only... Oh, never mind. That doesn't work. Round 2. Can I show how many counts?
Yeah, you can show that too.
Okay. All right. So let's go in here. Tiger Direct. Okay. So this is what it looks like. So there'll be a list of accounts, and you know it just keeps going down and down. But let's take a look at this. It says this is recommended. Let's learn more about what Tiger Direct is. Now, in round 2, we have a whole slew of these because it's a lot easier once you have 5 or 6 accounts reporting. It opens up the world because now you have a DUNS number and there's a lot more opportunity there. So once, okay, Tiger Direct, what is that? Here's the website. It reports to Experian and Equifax. This does not report to Dun & Bradstreet, but that's okay because we need accounts across the board. Tiger Direct is an online provider for everything electronic, office, digital, computers, components, communication, camcorders, hard drives, so anything really technical, screens, projectors, much more. Now, what is this requirement? So basic business information, 2 years in business. Okay, so there's a requirement here in 2 years in business. Dun & Bradstreet number, bank references and trade references depending on how big it is, and it's over the phone situation. Many of these times when you have like a 2-year requirement, a lot of times you can offset some of these by having a large amount of beginning trade lines. When they say that they want you to be in business 2 to 3 years, this is to have a track record of accounts. Because they know, especially SBA loans, they know in 2 to 3 years, you're going to have built up, if you're a successful business, some references. And that's what they're looking for. So a lot of times, when you're on the phone with them and they can look at your report, your Dun & Bradstreet report, you can offset some of these requirements. Okay, so let's go back. And we are now at, we go to the round 3. That's where we're getting gas cards, that's where we're getting trade lines, and some other stuff. So like t-shirts. You want some t-shirts for your business? Some clothing, they pretty much can do everything. They can do bags, they can do pens, they can do all sorts of stuff. And that's in that 30 type account. You go in there and you apply for them. That's really easy. Revolving accounts. So then after we have, this is where we have to go to get, you know, up to the 14 accounts. So now let's see, there's like TD Bank. So this company is actually recommended. This is a revolving account. And then so this reports to Experian and Equifax. This one's Dun & Bradstreet, Experian and Equifax. And Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. So there's just all sorts of different companies you can go to, gas stations. I mean, they're all across the board. We also have an aspect where we talk about business credit lines you can get that don't report. So like, you know, for example, Best Buy. It does not report, but it can be beneficial for you. So that kind of gives you a brief overview of everything we do. Now, along with that, like I said, you have access to a financial advisor, loan officer, and the whole support staff team to help you go along this process. All right, so that was just a little recap, and it helps put in a perspective of what we talked about today and how this systematically you want to run through these things. So as you're thinking about this, how you're going to be reviewing and updating your business, go through it systematically and think about, hey, what am I going to have to change, or what am I going to do when we set up the next business or this or whatever. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so are you doing... Okay, you're getting back. And so I'm going to go ahead, and that concludes my little walkthrough portion for right now. But you met him earlier. Oh. All right, so you met this guy earlier. Oh, there's his little babies, pumpkins. Man, they look so big now.
I'm just doing one now. There you go. Yep.
So this is the money guy. There's a reason we call him the money guy. Because just like myself, I'm really good at failing in a lot of different businesses, and so I feel like that's what's made me successful today, is because I just had a lot more failures than most people my age. That's all it is. And that's how we learn. We learn by the failures throughout life. But does it have to be your failures? Can we learn from the failures of others? So that's what we do. That's what we do with groups like this. We share information so we can learn from each other's failures. Joseph Smith is a guy you want to learn from, because he's not only learned from his own experiences, but he has literally spent his whole life over the last 6 years devoting it to perfecting what did people fail at, especially when it comes to finances, and how to offset that. And what he's about to show you is going to literally blow your mind, because he's going to take what you know about the banking industry and your business and turn it completely upside down. So there's a reason we call him the money guy. He's currently in control of $1.25 million in retirement accounts alone. That's just people's retirement that they keep throwing at him to go invest in real estate. This is a guy you want to listen to for sure. So let's bring him up to the stage, Mr. Joseph Smith. All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Oh, hey, I left my water back there. Would you bring that up or throw it to me? If we accidentally hit one of these folks, no, it's right there on the side. If we accidentally hit John in the head, I don't mind. Nah. Did you hit somebody back there? All right. Guys, I'm so excited. Was that great? Yes. You guys have just learned everything you need to know to start building your own business credit. Business credit is such an amazing strategy because it gives you access to cash. Now, I'm going to talk to you about velocity banking, but I want to put this into a bit of a context for you. By a show of hands, who's heard of Renatus? Okay, we got just a few. And then who has not heard of Renatus? Okay, large portion of you. Renatus is an education system that teaches you real estate investing and business finance.